about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Daliah, 1-877-DOCDALI. So some of my listeners live in New York City. Many of them, they don't. They're watching the news. And for those of you love that you listen all over the United States, God bless you guys. Thank you for listening to the show. And we try to take all your emails and your questions and your concerns. But a growing trend over the last few weeks, especially since the Democratic primary in New York City for mayor race, has been a depression or an anxiety, a Zohran or a Mamdani depression or anxiety. And Mamdani has been able to outsmart the status quo of how elections are done with establishment. He beats out Andrew Cuomo, who was, left the governor's office, not by choice, ends up running against Mamdani, loses in the primary. Now you have Zohran Mamdani, and I know his name gets mispronounced, but it's, I think, Mamdani. You have him running against Cuomo, who's running as an independent, Eric Adams also running as an independent, and then Curtis Sliwa on the Republican side. And when you look at those three battling it out for votes, Zohran Mamdani can be a sure win. He's already speaking to Obama. He's making headlines, and he knows how to get himself on camera. The problem is what he says or tweets or posts or does is making people very, very nervous. All right? If you're not going to, speak out against globalizing the Intifada, if you're not going to, fight for hostages to be out of Hamas control and get them home and free and safe and speak out against that. If you're going to be advocating for grocery stores to be run by the government when we've had other trials, such as in Kansas City, that have failed, people are getting kind of nervous. And so when people look at somebody, months before an election, seeming to just soar in the polls, there's this anxiety and depression. I'll tell you how to address that. But there's something called Zohran's Law. Zohran's Law is something that Andrew Cuomo has brought up because there may be an ethics investigation on Zohran Mamdani as it pertains to him being in a rent-stabilized apartment when he's making six figures. Allegedly, Mamdani earns about $142,000 a year, but he's in an apartment that is a rent-stabilized apartment in Astoria, Queens. Now, he's only paying $2,300 a month. Well, that housing is supposed to be for those who need it. So, ex-Governor Cuomo wants to propose Zohran's Law, which is where public officials or those who make six figures or make a lot of money do not get to benefit from the rent stabilization that's supposed to be for lower income or homeless individuals. So that's what's going on with that. And I'm sure we'll hear more about it. But what's really interesting is this anxiety that's growing where a socialist or accused alleged communist may be running one of the most powerful and largest cities in America. And the anxiety and depression surrounding that is growing. And so it was very interesting because you saw people upset when Biden won. And they were all nervous. And when I'm dealing with patients who are depressed and anxious, and what I told them is I said, look, all right, if things seem to work themselves out, there's always a reason for everything. And if Biden's a good president, we'll win. We'll all win. That's what we want. We're Americans. We're not Democrats. We're not Republicans. If Biden ends up being a good president, we win. If Biden screws up, and basically answers all the predictions that many people had with him, then Americans are also going to see that and then learn, okay, maybe we need to listen to people who say, look, he's not doing well on the campaign trail, or his ideas may not work. So right now there's this big call that's growing from young progressives to have a more socialized or communistic run government. And maybe the balance is somebody like Zohran Mamdani wins. And I think there's somebody else also running in, I think, Minneapolis as well, with similar ideologies. Let's say he does win. Will it work? If it works, we learn from, well, maybe there has to be changes in the way we do grocery stores or rent stabilization or making the wealthy pay. But if it falls flat, which we're already starting to see, just by his recommendations, people are fleeing, then that might be a test drive. And other cities might be like, Yeah, look at what happened with the border with Biden. The open border is necessary so we get more people coming in and then we could, change the votes. And, well, it turned out not to be that popular. Look at gerrymandering. You look at these states like Illinois where it's so obvious what was done. And gerrymandering has been going on for years. But now all of a sudden, like, well, wait a second. We don't like it when Texas does it. And in fact, in California, voters voted against Newsom canceling the independent commission that comes up with the districts, even though their current districts helps their party anyway. And you're already seeing people go, no, I don't like this. And so while if Mamdani is soaring in the polls, one, it's probably because, again, who is he running against? If they're not popular candidates, yes, he will win and he will become mayor of New York. Even with all the ethical issues and anti-Semitic issues that are coming out. But if he wins and it's a failure, I don't want to see New York City fail, then maybe people are going to be a little less open to those sorts of ideas. 1-877-Doc-Dolly, don't go away. Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020 for a free consultation. For 16 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Battling for years and years stuck in the endless cycle of minimum payments could take decades. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020. That's 800-878-6020. 800-878-6020.
Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dolly, 1-877 DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So we are seeing AI in medicine. We're seeing it in law. We're seeing it in teaching. And I'm telling you right now, please double check your work. AI is making us look stupid. It's making us look unethical. And it's making us look lazy. One of the latest debacles was a lawyer gets caught using AI that actually generated fake quotes and fake cases that he was using as precedent when he was making arguments for his case. This actually happened in Australia. He has apologized to a judge for filing submissions in a murder case that included these fake quotes and non-existent case judgments generated by artificial intelligence. It happened in the Supreme Court of Victoria. And this follows a slew of mishaps that we have seen AI in justice systems. So defense lawyer Rishi Nathwani, who has the title King's Counsel, which is apparently a very senior level of law, is taking full responsibility for filing incorrect information in submissions in the case of a teenager charged with a murder. This caused at least a 24-hour delay in resolving a case. And, I don't know why the submissions weren't cross-checked, researched themselves. And so they say the fake submissions included fabricated quotes from a speech to a state legislature and non-existent case citations purportedly from the Supreme Court. Now, the associates of, I believe, I think the judge found this because they looked up the cases and they couldn't find the cases where that came from. They say the citations never existed. And it turned out it's because the lawyer used AI. Now, come on. This is ridiculous. And, very interestingly, a lot of telemedicine companies are using AI. Patients are able to now call a telemedicine company, or not even call, but now submit online their symptoms, not even talking to a doctor. Submit their symptoms, upload a picture, and then a doctor will respond back. Getting ready for AI to knock doctors out of their jobs, especially primary care. These softwares already have AI-generated diagnoses. The quote-unquote recommended diagnosis. Sorry, my nose is running. So I'm looking at these, and I love my company that I work for. They're great. They allow us to go, no, something's not right. I disagree. We're going to escalate the case, get them seen in person, or get them seen online. But I'm looking at some of the AI-generated diagnoses, and I'm like, that's wrong. I go, that's wrong. And I really worry that you're going to have somebody lazy saying, you know what? This AI came up with that. So maybe I'm wrong. People are going to doubt themselves because the computer is coming up with a different answer. Now, I was taught to be very humble in medical school. I was taught to not be cocky. Always have an open mind and understand that you could be wrong. And I got to tell you, I had to actually teach myself to start having more confidence. Because remember, there was that case where somebody came in, had, I think, a skin lesion. I asked him, when was your last physical? He was in his 60s. He said, I just had a physical in New York. I'm good. So I'm thinking a New York doctor performing his physical. It had to have been a thorough physical. So I remove his lesion. It was precancerous. I have him come back to take the sutures out, even though insurance stopped paying for that. He comes back, I take the sutures out, and I go, and he's like, can you refill my cholesterol medication? And I'm like, I can, but I haven't got your records yet. I really want to see your physical. He's like, yeah, my doctor did everything in New York. So I gave him 1 month, and I said, come back, because if I don't get your records, I want to kind of look deeper at this. Well, and I go, by the way, you said you had a physical. Did you ever have a colonoscopy? you're 63 or whatever. He's like, no, I've never had a colonoscopy. I go, well, let me at least make a referral because you do need your colon cancer screening. So while I'm waiting for his medical records, because you aren't supposed to be double doing, right? You're not supposed to be wasting medicine or wasting money in medicine or putting patients through unnecessary procedures. He wanted me to just wait for the records. I sent him to GI for a colon cancer screening, and the PA at the GI doctor said, we can't do his colonoscopy. I'm like, why not? Well, he's got an aneurysm. I'm like, this guy just had a physical with a New York doctor. How did they miss that? Now, again, I didn't do the physical yet because he came to me for a skin lesion. So I'm like, I'm going to send him to cardiovascular right away. He's got an aneurysm. The cardiovascular doctor calls me up the next day. This is when you could get a doctor in or a patient in same day or next day. He says, I can't operate on this guy's aneurysm. He's got triple vessel disease. He's like, Daliah, you've never missed this. What did his EKG look like? I go, he's a new patient. I haven't done his EKG yet. He said he had a physical already. Didn't want to do another physical. And I just hear the doctor kind of take a deep breath. I go, I'm always going to do my own work. I used to always do it. I'm going to redo. And you know what? I'm not going to believe in another doctor's physical. So the moral to this is, this physical this patient got in New York was a crap physical. The doctor was an idiot. And I learned very early on in my career that I cannot trust another doctor's work. Then why would I or any student or resident or anybody in the medical profession trust a computer? Well, because we were raised that computers are the smartest things out there. They're not. Humans are. Humans are smarter than computers. Now, I get there's a lot of behavior that people do, which is pretty stupid. And I'm seeing this behavior, and I've seen people do stupid. But I am sick and tired of us saying that AI is smarter. Computers are smarter. Now, this patient ended up doing well. When we did get the records on this patient, the physical that was done by the doctor did not include what I would have included, EKG, chest x-ray, even though that wasn't part of the guidelines. I'm like, the guy's in his 60s. He has high cholesterol. Yes, I'm going to check his heart. I'm going to, yeah, but we can never be lazy or worried about what an insurance company is going to say if we spend money. All right. The patient comes first. And aneurysm was taken care of, triple vessel disease. He got his colon cancer screen. He did well, but that's the last time I am trusting another doctor. And I didn't even trust the physical. It's just he was a new patient. I thought he had a possible skin cancer. That's how I engaged with him because I was treating him for possible skin cancer. Meanwhile, people are under the impression that they had the most thorough exam and they're walking around a ticking time bomb. So I urge all of you who are utilizing AI to realize it could be wrong. If in a legal court case for the Supreme Court in Australia, a lawyer could get busted for fake citations that he got from AI generated verbiage, all right, this AI could screw us over. And who is checking on that? I did a study with some medical students this year on AI generated answers as it pertained to a child or a teen suffering from depression. The AI answers weren't that good. And people are entrusting their lives to this computer. People are dating their computers. That one woman, her AI chatbot is now her fiance. This is why people think we're stupid. And maybe we are getting stupider. But I'm telling you right now, AI is making us lazy, and it's also making us unethical. And for anybody using AI in medicine, for the love of God, please trust your instinct. And if you don't like the AI answer, don't go with that AI answer. Say, look, I think there's something more going on. Because the problem with AI is whatever it is fed is what it'll spit out. So if you're a patient and you're saying, you know what, I think I have strep. So you're thinking to yourself, so I got a sore throat. I have a fever. It's all about the sore throat. Let me just tell the computer that. Are they really getting the full picture? We have dissected doctors out of the physical exam now for years. But what did we learn in the physical exam? We learned that while a patient is talking about their throat, you're also looking at their eyes. You're looking at their parotid glands. You're looking at their thyroid. You're checking their heart. Because your job is to pick up something a non-medical professional could miss. Don't get lazy, don't get stupid, and don't get unethical. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go in.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret.
Powered by science.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So a video was going viral of a young black woman in D.C. who is saying she feels so much safer now in our nation's capital since President Donald Trump is cracking down on crime and having the National Guard partner with the local police. I say partner. Other people are calling it a vicious, hostile takeover. But the National Guard can't do it without, working with the police. But according to the TikTok user, her name is Big Dog Lexi. She was in her car, and she says, finally able to chill at a red light with my windows down. She said, I'm not worried about if one of them young blank, she says, is coming, riding through the city. She says, feeling more safe than I ever felt. Now, this has gone all over. People are looking at this, and you're hearing from multiple people in their comments on what they think. You have seen protesters yelling and screaming at the National Guard, which is inappropriate. Somebody throwing a Subway sandwich, who, by the way, worked for the Department of Justice, we're told. Why are you in a government position, working as a government employee in the Department of Justice, yet violating laws and interfering with individuals who are there to keep the city safe? Makes no sense. He got fired, which I agree with. He should have. And so even though police statistics say that crime is going down in D.C., the locals say the city still has muggings, shootings, stabbings, carjackings, murders, rapes. And one of the people who, I guess, watched her video asked, we're kind of shocked. They said, you couldn't ride with your window down before? They said, I've never been to D.C. Was it really that bad? And she said, yeah. They grab you right at the light. Now, there was a video last year of somebody in Florida at a stoplight, broad daylight, sitting there at a stoplight getting carjacked. This carjacking, and I've had friends, it's not easy. Thank God they lived. But many carjackers will kill their victims. And when they do steal your car, They don't care that your baby's in it. They don't care that your purse or your belongings are in it. Maybe some of them might say, I'll wait for you to get the baby out of the baby seat, or maybe they won't approach it if they think there's a kid in there. But others, because again, you have mental illness. You're dealing with mental illness. They're not going to think like logical people. But we take that freedom and that safety for granted. Being at a stoplight and not getting carjacked. Now, I haven't studied where you should be at an intersection, but I'm wondering if there are certain things you could do at an intersection to prevent yourself from getting carjacked. Do you need to not be the first car? Do you need to be boxed in? I hate being boxed in. But if there is an open lane at an intersection and you take that open lane so that you are now first and not behind two cars, does that put you at higher risk for a carjacking? Because then they could get in there and then make a right turn or go straight. Yet if you were 2 or 3 cars back, they're still going to sit. And they're not going to want to sit in traffic with your car. They're going to want to take it and go. Do left lanes get carjacked more than right lanes? I want to look that up. Where are you at highest risk? You would think nighttime you'd be at risk, but look at that woman that got shot in Florida, and it was during broad daylight. If somebody wants a car, they're running, trying to get that vehicle, it doesn't matter what time of day. If they're high, if they're running from the police. And then you start to wonder, should you follow the laws? If you're going to be at risk of getting killed, being at a stoplight, what makes these carjackings so terrifying is we are required by law to stop our vehicle at an intersection so we don't kill any pedestrians or hurt any oncoming traffic. But if you are stopped at an intersection, you are now at risk of getting killed. So the average person will say, I don't want to, then I don't want to stop at an intersection. It's a really scary, frightening process that's going on. The answer is increase police presence, increase National Guard presence. But it's hot and it's muggy in D.C. And when you hear that somebody at night, when it's cooling off, wants to open her window and be able to sit and relax at a 4-way stop, but in our nation's capital, and we have the best country in the galaxy, our citizens can't be at a stoplight following the laws in safety, we have a problem. Now, bipartisanly and nonpartisanly, this should be a slam dunk. The executive branch and our commander-in-chief should immediately jump on top of it, which he has. He's like, you know what? I'm going to bring in the National Guard. Have them help the police out to get this under control while they're recruiting more people. And you would think that everybody would be agreeing that this needs to be done. Nope. In fact, President Trump is now being sued for helping those citizens. We are being told that the Attorney General in D.C. is suing the president for helping D.C. police fight crime. Why? Because it's a power issue. They say the commander-in-chief's order temporarily takes control of the Metropolitan Police Department away from the mayor, Mayor Muriel Bowser. Also asserting emergency powers over D.C. under the Home Rule Act. D.C. Attorney General Brian Schwab filed a lawsuit saying these actions are brazenly unlawful. The lawsuit is filed against the administration in the District Court of D.C. They're saying this goes well beyond the bounds of the president's limited authority and instead seeks a hostile takeover of the Metropolitan Police Department. Now, didn't the police union chief welcome this, saying this is kind of what we need? So they say that this is a takeover, and it's an affront to the dignity and autonomy of the 700,000 Americans who call D.C. home. Well, if you're hearing these cases of individuals saying, I could now breathe and feel I'm not going to get carjacked or killed at a stoplight, that's all the proof I need that this is something that the 700,000 Americans want. You hear other individuals being interviewed going, it's nice to see the National Guard there. I feel safer. You know what's interesting? Many people have never been to Israel. And so they have misconceptions about how the Israelis and the Arabs live in harmony. They do. There are millions of Arabs that live in Israel. And when you walk to the Kotel, or the wall, you walk through what they call the Arab section. There's a Christian section, the Jewish section. It's safe. There's military. The people are nice. There's, it's, we perceive things and we get these myths and we go after that because it makes media headlines. But people need to really understand what the people are thinking. 1-877 Doc Dali.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799 and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did. And just maybe, someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
Back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dali, 1-877 DOCDALI. So we are obviously watching not only the summit in Alaska between Trump and Putin, but also Deadly Storm Erin. Deadly Storm Erin has now become a hurricane. National Hurricane Center announced the development at about 10:14 a.m. today, saying that the hurricane is set to pass near or north of Leeward Islands. I don't believe it's going to hit the American coast. However, it is going to maybe ride up the coast. Erin has been gathering strength in the Atlantic all week and is projected to become a Category 4 storm by Monday as it approaches Bermuda. According to Daily Mail, meteorologists have warned that the hurricane could bring dangerous surf coastal flooding to millions in the United States from the Carolinas to New England. Another thing also that, I think a lot of us kind of, I don't want to say fall victim to, because we're are naive to, shall I say, is we look at the eye of the storm, and it doesn't look like the eye of the storm touches America, but a storm covers miles and upon miles of precipitation and winds. And so even if the eye of the storm doesn't necessarily hit the windfall and the whole range of the hurricane, can definitely affect the coast. So meteorologists are on watch from the Carolinas to New England. Spaghetti models are predicting that the hurricane will continue to move west, but it will take a sharp curve north. As it takes that sharp curve north, it could threaten the U.S. East Coast and the northern states. They say AccuWeather lead hurricane expert Alex De Silva said, do not underestimate the power of a major hurricane, even passing by offshore. These massive storms produce very rough surf, lethal rip currents that can impact beaches even hundreds of miles away. So we're watching this closely. We've talked about hurricane preparedness, and with this, it's never too early to prepare. Even if you're, let's say, in Florida, and you're like, I think we're going to be, dodging the bullet on this one. The last thing you want to do is wait when all the shelves are empty and there's, no extra water or food or canned foods. I think anybody who lives in a path where they could be at risk for hurricane season or earthquake season or a horrible snowstorm issue or wildfires, to be prepared. And being prepared is pretty similar. Having canned foods, flashlights, medical supply kit, batteries, blankets, cash, medications, and waterproof containers set aside for disasters. The medication issue, a lot of people kind of struggle with that because they say, my doctor doesn't give me more pills. It's not so much the doctor, also it's your insurance. For those of you trying to get an extra Ozempic pen, your insurance may not cover it. Unfortunately, people have asked, what's the best way to do that? We never tell you to hoard medications or not use medications. But unfortunately, what we believe some people have done is they haven't finished their prescription and then they save it, or they save the unused pills. As it pertains to narcotics and family members getting into your narcotics and overdosing, we tell you to dispose of them at a pharmacy or at a disposal site. But in terms of emergencies, and you're like, but I want to have an extra antibiotic, I want to have extra heart medication, you can talk to your medical provider about ways to do that. I'm not a big fan of getting higher dose medication and cracking them in half. I don't like that because some people forget they might take the wrong medication. They might accidentally overdose. But sometimes if insurance is an issue and people are trying to get extra medications that they have in case they lose them, sometimes your doctor can work with you on that. Also, some generics are pretty cheap. There are some companies where you could buy your generic medication for $5 or $7 or $10 for cash. And so if you really feel like you want to have some extra blood pressure medication just in case, and it's generic, you might be able to buy it for cash if your insurance company won't cover it. In terms of hurricanes, make sure you sign up for your community's warning system. The Emergency Alert System, EAS, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA Weather Radio will also provide alerts if you're at risk for flash flooding. Obviously, watch for warning signs. Know where your safe shelters are. Have that plan on where you're going to go if your governor says to boot it and leave. Get to higher ground. If you have an electric vehicle and you're going to be near anywhere where there's going to be flooding, know what you're dealing with. You cannot have your electric vehicle get flooded. If you think your house is in a flood zone, you have got to get that electric vehicle to higher ground. Look at what happened with the Pacific Palisades and those homes. If it ignites on fire, your firefighters can't do anything about it. They're really hard to extinguish. And they don't want to hose down a car not on fire because water can trigger, excessive water and flooding could trigger an electric vehicle fire. You know, there's multiple states that are moving to banning fuel vehicles and to move to electric. Do they understand that if you have an electric vehicle, that could be a pretty big liability? Going back in terms of food, gather needed supplies for at least 3 days. According to Prepare Now. Don't forget water, food, and please don't forget the needs of your pets. Your pets need their food and water, and don't just think they could lick your ice cream and be fine. Make sure you have a radio. One thing about AM radio is we survive electromagnetic issues that are affecting your Wi-Fi and your streaming services. So make sure you have access to a radio where you can listen to AM radio. Make sure you communicate with family members on what your plan B would be. Let them know where you would go. Understand that your text messaging might not be available. Try to text, but also know their phone numbers. In case you can't access your phone and your phone loses power, for the love of the Lord, write your family members' numbers down. I don't know my family. There's only a couple family members. I know their numbers. But I don't have people's numbers memorized. Because they keep changing their numbers and there's too many numbers. It was easy without the area code. But now that everybody has different area codes, I'm lost. Make sure your car is in good working condition. Keep the gas tank full. Don't be like, you know what? I get rewards. I do this. I get rewards, and sometimes I get 50 cents a gallon, so I wait until my gas is almost at empty, so then I get the most out of that 50 cents per gallon reward, because I don't always get that. Sometimes it's only 5 cents a gallon. Don't be doing that if you're going to be in an area that could be affected. All right. For those of you that can cover your homes and windows, do that. There are storm shutters, things like that. And then any loose objects or furniture that could get swept aside or bang or anchor objects that could be unsafe, especially like propane tanks. Make sure you have batteries. These are things you should have now. Flashlights, your extra medicine, lamination of important documents that could be waterproof. And, hopefully this doesn't turn into, sadly a catastrophe. But unfortunately, that's what we're looking at if this does come our way. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So, really quickly here, apparently these are the following states that are, according to Auto Review Hub, 13 states planning to ban gas-powered cars within 5 years. Delaware, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Jersey, New York, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Vermont. I think that's all of them. I would rethink that. 1-877-DOC-DALI.
Can you believe, with all the recent violent protests, looting, and destruction, some areas are considering either defunding or abolishing the police? At a time when America's neighborhoods need the protection of police the most, some elected officials would rather create more chaos by playing politics. If you're sick of elected officials caving in to demands of the radical left, you're not alone. It's time we stand up and declare our support for local police. The majority of police officers are important partners in protecting our God-given rights. If you prefer freedom over chaos, then learn how you can help protect the local police that serve your community. Call today and request your free Support Your Local Police info packet. Dial 800-JBS-USA-1. That's 800-JBS-USA-1. Request your free Support Your Local Police info packet by calling 800-JBS-USA-1 today.